Hello and welcome everybody to our final game today of LiquidHayprO. We're going to be looking at a little bit of a ZVZ right now, and spawning in the top left position of Shakuras Plateau as the blue Zerg playing from Team Liquid. Our hero for the day, we have HayprO. His opponent, his Zerg opponent today, spawning in the bottom right position of Shakuras Plateau as the red Zerg playing from Team Alternate Attacks, we have aTnDarKFoRcE. Now, aTnDarKFoRcE, very, very good player. I actually really like aTnDarKFoRcE. I don't know, he doesn't have that huge of a following, but he did really well in NASL Season 1, and ever since I saw his play there, I've just always liked his play. It's very safe, it's extremely patient. He's probably the most patient Zerg I've ever seen in my life. Like, he could just be at the hugest advantage ever, and like, at several points in the game, sometimes he'll be like, you could have just killed him. You could have just gone over there and killed him right now. But he's really patient, really good about staying ahead of your opponent, making sure that you get small gains and stay ahead all the time. So I really like his patient style. Gonna have to see if that can beat out HayprO's heavy macro style this game. Very economic style game of HayprO here on Shakuras Plateau. Both players sending their overlords across the map to now try to scout their opponent. And ooh, I actually really like this move here by aTnDarKFoRcE. Notice after it got past the halfway point of Shakuras Plateau, he said, well, if my opponent was here and sent an overlord this way, then I would have seen it right here. So I know that my opponent isn't at this lower position. And as we can see now, HayprO doing it a little bit... Oh no, he's not actually doing it at all yet. He's still sending that one overlord into the base here. But this move by aTnDarKFoRcE I really liked. I thought that was really cool, as he is now pretty sure that his opponent has spawned here in the top left position, and he is now sending both his overlords that way to go scout. In ZVZ, it's not too typical. HayprO doing the more standard scout, I should note, of just noticing that there is no creep spread there. There would have been creep there if there was a hatchery. And so now he's just moving down towards that lower position, and he actually knows definitively that aTnDarKFoRcE is in this bottom right position. Both players getting up that gas and pool before getting up a hatchery. Very safe play to make. Some players, I think Cats typically likes to go for the fast expand. Last I checked, that was his style, to go for a very fast hatchery, get up one gas, get up spawning pool, as well as get up a few banelings to try to defend against any kind of early attacks, because you can actually defend. If you're very good with your micro, you can actually defend most one base pushes with a 15 hatch. 15 hatch, 15 pool, you can defend most early pushes. Anything less than a 10 pool, I think, will be very difficult to hold off, but any normally timed pool, like anything above 10, is actually not too hard to hold off at all. You can actually have up lings and sometimes even banelings in time if you're good. Now we do see that 4 Zerglings have been produced by both players. Gonna be, looks like aTnDarKFoRcE is now throwing down a baneling nest here. Gonna be maybe going for some earlier aggression. Both players just got their first queen out, but HayprO gonna be taking a pretty fast hatchery here. Gonna be getting a second base pretty quickly. aTnDarKFoRcE gonna know about it just because he does have that overlord in position there to scout that base. And HayprO gonna get a good scout on his opponent. Gonna be happy to see that there is no hatchery here. So the next thing he wants to check for, wants to check up into his opponent's base and get a good drone count. That's what he wants to know next. He needs to scout around here, see what his opponent is doing, whether his opponent has a ton of Zerglings up here, and whether he cut drones. But as we can see, aTnDarKFoRcE so far hasn't really cut that many drones. Still has a good number of drones out right now. He does have the baneling nest going down here, so it can't be too big of a Zergling all in here by aTnDarKFoRcE. Or if it is, it's going to be a little bit wild. And oh, HayprO's Zergling speed finishes just a little bit before aTnDarKFoRcE's, and he gets a few Zergling kills there for free as he is now chasing his opponent back to his base. We do see a few banelings now being produced here by aTnDarKFoRcE as he takes his own natural expansion. I think that's actually pretty late. I think he could have actually safely taken that much sooner, because as we can see, HayprO's is going to be finishing here very shortly. We do see the baneling nest now going down here for HayprO, so he's going to be able to get those banelings up as well. So far, very standard Zerg versus Zerg for both of these players. Second queen now up here for aTnDarKFoRcE, now ready to inject, but it looks like HayprO now already a little bit ahead of his opponent. We do see Zerglings continuing to do a little bit of chasing, a little bit of cat and mouse going on in the middle of the map. HayprO splitting off one Zergling quite nicely. They're going to be able to get up into the main there, and that he's going to be able to pick off that baneling in a 1 baneling for 1 Zergling trade, I think. Oh, will he get it? If he gets it, that's going to be a good trade there for HayprO. Trading 1 Zergling for 1 baneling, definitely worth it, and that's exactly what HayprO decided to go for. Oh, looks like aTnDarKFoRcE now now sending one Zergling up into his opponent's base. Gonna get there in time to see that 4 Banelings are currently on the way there. Needs to pull those back. Doesn't want to lose any Banelings to that one Zergling. And we can see that DarkFoRcE now going to be forced to pull back and produce a few more Zerglings to be able to defend well. We do see that one Spinecrawler is going down. Where is that Spinecrawler actually going down? Oh, there it is, going down at the top of the ramp. And he's now producing a few more Banelings to be able to defend against a whole lot of Zerglings that might come in. HayPro once again being very smart, being very careful about not sending all of his Zerglings up the ramp, sending just one up at a time. And now he's going to be sending in the Banelings there. That Baneling not connecting very well, only taking out one Zergling, but it looks like he's going to try to get a good surround on that Queen. And we see that those Zerglings not getting too bad of a hit there for HayPro there, doing some good damage. Ooh, DarkFoRcE actually accidentally attacking his own hatchery there for a little bit, but now these Banelings are now down, and oh, if he gets a good connection there, then HayPro could lose all his Zerglings as I swallow my own saliva. And we do see that HayPro going to continue to try to be careful with his Zerglings, sending in his Zerglings in small groups, trying to get good harassments off, trying to pick off Banelings when he can, not really getting a whole lot done. Oh, looks like he might get one. Managed to get one Baneling there, but lost 3 Zerglings in the process. Probably not the best trade there for HayPro. But HayPro's been on this base for a while, and notice because he was just continually attacking here, back home he could just be droning here. And that's something that's very, very difficult. And that's why ZVZ is actually one of the harder matchups to actually play out, just because it's very, very hard to tell when to drone. In TVT and PvP, you can always just be producing harvesters in the background. You can produce harvesters while you get Marines. You can produce harvesters while you get Stalkers and Zealots. But Zerg, you can't. You have to decide when to get drones versus when to get Banelings, and versus Zerglings. So some players will opt to just be very bold and take lots and lots of drones early on and just get a few Zerglings, scouting, being very active about their scouting and trying to keep those 2 Zerglings alive. But as we can see, HayPro, he wants to play it very safe, wants to also force his opponent to try to produce a lot more units than he really would like. So he was continuing to apply pressure with those Zerglings, and whoa, looks like DarkFoRcE gets a nice little trade there on those Banelings. And in the base of DarkFoRcE, now trying to get up lots of gas. Actually, we do see that he has taken his gas geysers about the same time that HayPro did, despite the fact that HayPro got his expansion up and running much earlier. But now DarkFoRcE is going to be saturating that mineral line. If we check out the harvester count right now, HayPro is a little bit up, and notice that those harvesters have been mining at this natural for longer, so he is going to be overall up in economy. We do see that he's now going to be throwing down the Spire as well, so we are going to have a bit of Baneling Muta play here from HayPro. Again, this is something that's becoming much more standard among Zerg players in ZVZ. Players like Idra are like adamant that this is the future of ZVZ and that is the way it is going to be. Everyone is going to be doing mutas later on. That remains to be seen, but it looks like HayPro is going to be going for that, and it looks like DarkFoRcE is actually going to be going for that as well, as the Spire is now coming up for him also. Looks like HayPro going to be taking his 3rd base pretty shortly here as he continues to try to poke up at his opponent's base, but a nice little wall off of Zerglings here is going to prevent any kind of scouting information. Did DarkFoRcE actually scout that expansion? No, he hasn't actually scouted that 3rd, and that's a little bit of a mistake, I think, by DarkFoRcE. One thing you want to do in ZVZ is you want to know exactly when your opponent is expanding, because that's kind of what allows you to take your expansions. If you take an expansion, or if your opponent takes an expansion, you pretty much want to be following that up with an expansion as well. But HayPro actually got his expansion up and running now, and now he's going to be running in to try to deny this 3rd expansion. Oh, and DarkFoRcE actually producing, whoa, a lot of Banelings there. A lot of Banelings being produced right now, as HayPro is now producing 6 Mutalisks, and whoa, I can't say that I agree with the creation of all these Banelings here by DarkFoRcE. I think he's kind of not sure of what his opponent is doing just because his opponent had that wall off. He's thinking his opponent might be going for some kind of all-in, and again, I think that's because he didn't scout this hatchery. If he had an Overlord here and he knew about this hatchery, he would know that his opponent couldn't possibly be going for any kind of huge attacks. But now he overproduced Banelings, and that's going to really cut into his Mutalisk production. And HayPro, being very good with the patrolling Zergling, going to know that this hatchery has gone down for DarkFoRcE, and he's going to know that his is way ahead right now. Notice he's already starting to mine gas on there, and he's now producing Mutalisks. Lots of Mutalisks already out on the field. If we check out the unit counting station right now, we can see that he is up 12-9 in Mutalisks right now. He's not up in Banelings right now. Notice DarkFoRcE has 9 Banelings to HayPro's 2 Banelings, but that improved Mutalisk count for HayPro, I think, is going to really, really help. Oh, at this little fight, though, looks like more Mutalisks are on the field for DarkFoRcE, as HayPro's got to wait till his other Mutalisk reinforcements arrive, as they are still moving across the field right now. And if we check out the unit counting station right now, HayPro is still up by 1 Mutalisk, and ooh, nice little bit of micro there by HayPro as he managed to pull back and just focus down a couple of Mutalisks, and now look at that. HayPro is just straight up forcing trades with his opponent. He knows his economy is better, he knows his third was faster, so now he just wants to trade armies as much as possible because he knows he can replenish his faster, and that's exactly what he's doing. And wow, he actually managed to survive that fight. He managed to live that fight with 2 Mutalisks remaining. He's now going to continue to just pump out more and more Mutalisks. We do see that in terms of upgrades, HayPro is 0-0 in his flyer upgrades, but in ground upgrades, it looks like DarkFoRcE currently at 0-0 on both his Mutas and his Lings. As for Lings of HayPro, looks like HayPro is also 0-0 in upgrades right now, but we do see that +1 flyer attacks just about to be completing here. I don't know about this decision to get +1 attack. HayPro seems to really favor his +1 attacks on all his units, almost always gets +1 attacks. But the thing is, in ZVZ, when you have these Mutalisk versus Mutalisk battles, you really want Flyer Carapace. There we go, Flyer Carapace now being started here by HayPro, and that is because if you have Mutalisks against Mutalisks, Flyer Carapace will not only reduce the number of shots that your Mutas take. Without upgrades, Mutas can take 16 hits. Oh, yes, that is correct. They can take 16 hits, but with a +1 Carapace upgrade, they can take... I cannot say this straight today. Alright, hold on. They take 16 hits with a +1 Carapace, 14 without. So if your Mutalisks if you just have 0-0 Mutalisks versus 0-0 Mutalisks, 14 hits to kill a Mutalisk. If you get a +1 Carapace though, it increases the number of hits that you need for... My god, I cannot talk today. It takes 16 hits for your opponents to kill one of your Mutalisks. Not only that, it reduces the damage done by the bounces of the Mutalisks. So armor is almost always my choice of upgrades in ZVZ. If any of you guys dispute that, I'm actually curious to know if there's an argument for the counter. Is there an argument for getting +1 air attack over +1 air Carapace? If there is, comment down below and let me know, because I'm actually really curious to know about that. My logic was always that if you're reducing the damage of every single bounce that a Mutalisk does, you're going to be way ahead of your opponent if he goes for attack upgrades instead of armor upgrades on his Mutalisks. But if that is not the case, please let me know, because that is actually something that I would actually be really interested to know. And once again, if you like to know that kind of things, go to teamliquid.net and search for critical upgrades. Really recently, like I said in the previous game, there was a really good post about critical upgrades and what upgrades are important to get in all matchups. So go check that out. It is actually a really cool little read. Now it looks like HayPro going to be moving in here. He has used his economic advantage quite well. He has taken a 4th base, and he's now just pushing in, once again forcing lots and lots of trades right now. Looks like DarkFoRcE won the ground battle, and he's going to try to push back, but HayPro I think is going to be able to stop that in time. His Mutalisks continuing to deal lots and lots of damage because he is dominating the air battle right now. That is all because those expansions came up so much quicker, and I think this is actually going to force the GG out of DarkFoRcE right now, as DarkFoRcE doesn't really have a whole lot to be able to deal with this. His Zerglings are getting into the HayPro's 3rd, but more and more Zerglings being produced by HayPro right now, going to be able to stop those. 150 food to the 70 food of DarkFoRcE right now, and if I had to say what caused HayPro to win this game, I think the faster natural as well as the faster 3rd is really what won HayPro that game. The fact that he got his expansions up, DarkFoRcE did not scout those expansions. HayPro was able to get up the 3rd much faster than DarkFoRcE's was, and that allowed him to get that up, and I think that was a huge game changer here. That, and the fact that DarkFoRcE produced all those Banelings here. He produced a ton of Banelings here that he did not need at all, and that allowed HayPro to get higher in the Mutalisk count, which allowed him to maintain air control. From that point on, as long as HayPro was continuing to pump all of his gas into Mutalisks, then there's no way that DarkFoRcE could have passed up his Mutalisk numbers, and he would have always had that air dominance, and that is what won him that game, in my opinion. So, I hope you guys enjoyed those casts. If you do, please go watch more of HayPro. HayPro streams all the time and doesn't get nearly the number of viewers that I would like him to get, because every time he streams, he's just so good. He's so good. So go check out HayPro's stream. If you guys enjoyed this cast, please check out my YouTube channel. Subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. And comment down below. Let me know what I can do to make these casts better. Going to be doing some cool things over the weekend. I think I'm going to do a few analysis games. For those of you that really like to see the hardcore analysis stuff, I'm going to be uploading some analysis games over the weekend. So be sure to check those out. Follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/GLiTCHStarCraft. And that is going to do it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Glitch out.